some snow in Bedfordshire. I came down yesterday on Sunday afternoon actually, but couldn't get out with the camera yesterday. I was playing with family and the kids and stuff. It was just nice to hang out. It was also my son's first bit of snow, so couldn't really miss that, so I was at home for that. But I have had some time this morning to come out before work and just capture a few moments hopefully down at the lake. It's within walking distance from the house, so we're within kind of lockdown. I thought I'd come down, and I've got the Pentax 6.7 with me, which is this massive beast next to me, and got a few rolls to finish off on the film, so I thought I'd just come down and take a few shots, hopefully get some nice read images. It's very calm this morning, hopefully just try and capture a little bit of the snow as well. Like I said, it's -3 this morning, so it's a bit nippy. Got the old bubble hat on. Hopefully this will be one of my first kind of image to print videos that I'm going to do. It's actually a suggestion from a friend of mine, so thanks Andy for the idea. Basically it's going to involve me coming out with the film camera and talking you all the way through the whole process, so from image all the way to then developing the film as well at home, and then printing in the darkroom. So hopefully we have a out in the field part all the way through to a finished product at the end of a print that I've been done in the darkroom. So thanks for the suggestion, Andy, and hopefully everyone kind of likes the format. And yeah, so like I said, haven't got long this morning, so it's mostly going to be me out taking pictures. Not much video this morning, but we'll head back and I'll see you back at the house when it's time to develop the film at whatever point that might be. It's a few days later and the snow is well and truly gone, but I'm pleased to have had the opportunity, no matter how small, to have made a couple of images in the snow. Well, now I'm back in the studio and here's a rough contact sheet of the negatives. Instantly I'm drawn towards a couple of them which have the snow covered edge of the lake meeting the water. I also like the reeds in the back of these images too. The key to printing will be to get the contrast between the snow and the water correct without the snow becoming too grey and flat. My first reaction is to start with this one in particular and see how it prints. I'll also consider some rough cropping options at this point too, although my first print will always be of the full negative. However, I'll always be considering whether I can bring in a square crop, which is always my favourite aspect ratio. One of the benefits of shooting 6.7 is that I have a good sized negative to play around with and can crop with ease in the darkroom without losing quality. As I'd expect, it's not possible to get every negative catered for in the contact sheet, but there are a few other negatives which look promising for one of my other ongoing series. These two in particular, and I'll mark these out for printing at a later date. With the contact sheet reviewed and the negative picked for printing, it's time to head back to the darkroom. So after reviewing the negatives on the contact sheet, I spent the night in the darkroom working on some test strips of the negative that I showed with the snow and then the edge of the lake, and just one of the test prints here. This is the full 4:5 ratio print, and for those that are interested, it's an 8-second test strip with third stops added. So it's 8 seconds in the middle, the light end was down to 4 seconds, and the dark end was up to 16 seconds. So there's basically 2 stops worth of tests there. So having done that, I looked through, and actually I was right down this end, somewhere around the sort of 5.5 seconds. So I did a couple of prints to kind of work out if that was right. And I kind of got roughly to where I wanted it to get to, and then over the course of the evening I just kind of kept working it and keep tweaking, and I actually moved towards a square print as well in the end. So I always know I kind of think I wanted to go to a square ratio, and for me it kind of worked as well. So this was the final test print of the evening, and all in all I'm quite happy. It's not quite there yet, I mentioned that I wanted to keep the contrast here quite strong between the snow and the lake. I don't think I've quite achieved that yet. So this evening, doing a few more filter tests, using some harder filters to kind of boost that contrast and see if I can just make this a little bit more exaggerated. The snow isn't quite white enough and this isn't quite dark enough, so I've got a little bit more work to do. But overall, I think it could end up quite a nice sort of minimalist image with this, basically this sort of silhouette or opposite silhouette in the corner of the snow. With the dark of the water, I think it'd be quite a nice minimalist print. So I'm going to do a couple of test prints first, just to see if I can get that bit right, and then I'm going to have a go at doing an 8x8 print. So I will be printing on Ilford's multigrade resin coated paper. This is their newest formula, which I have found to be much improved over the version 4. It gives you far more separation between the different filters when you're doing contrast filters, and it's a lot closer to what I'll get when I do a fibre print as well. So this new formula has been really good for me in the darkroom actually, because obviously it's much cheaper paper, but there's not a huge difference between the times that I get here and what I will get when I do a proper final fibre print. So this has proved really useful. And I print on 9.5 by 12 because I just like something a little bit bigger than the 8 by 10 for when I'm doing a final print, and I find an 8 by 8 square is just a really nice size to hold. It's not too small and you kind of get nice detail, and when you do frame it as well, it's still quite a nice size and not sort of doesn't just disappear basically in the frame. So always shoot this when I'm doing a sort of final test print. So I'm going to have a go at this now and then see how we get on. I've just been having some fun and doing some tests with changing the filter contrast in the enlarger to see if I can increase that contrast like I mentioned, and I think I've kind of finally got to a point where I'm happy now. So on this last test print that I've just done here, I'm much happier with the contrast I've been able to get here between the snow and the water, and I'm just going to do a print now 7x7 just on 8x10 paper, just to make sure it looks good across the thing. I'm actually dodging in here slightly as well to kind of really try and keep that edge a bit whiter, but actually just where you can see it meets the paper, there is still some tonality there as well within the snow, so it's not completely sort of high blown out either. So that's key as well, because I still want to keep a little bit of texture in the snow. Snow shouldn't be bright white with no detail in it. It's about just trying to keep enough detail in there. That's kind of the challenge with this particular print. So I'm going to have a go now at the 7x7. If everything looks good, then I'm going to go straight into doing the larger print on the larger paper. So hopefully the next time I come and talk to the camera, I'll have done my larger print and I'll be happy with what the contrast looks like before, allow it to sort of dry down and see if it makes a slight difference overnight. But overall, I think I've got the right contrast now between the snow and the water, so I'm happy with that. Working in the darkroom at times is very, very, very frustrating, and this negative has caused me all sorts of problems actually, and I'm not able to achieve the vision yet that I have for this negative, and it's definitely my lack of experience and some skills that I don't yet own, I think, is what's missing in terms of getting the full potential out of this negative, compared to the prints that I made last week in the last video of the images from the Holger, which were actually just fairly straightforward prints, very minimal effort needed, just a few tweaks to get the timing right. I didn't have to go into split grade printing or anything complex. It was very straightforward to be able to print those, and sometimes that's just how it is. You get a really good negative that works really well, and then sometimes you get negatives that you think should work well, but you just can't get it right in terms of getting what you have up here as your vision for that image and actually getting it to appear on the paper how you want it to. So, I mean, like I said, that's definitely it's me that's at fault. It's user error. I haven't quite yet been able to get what I want out of it, and I think there's some skills, there's some things I need to add to my tool set to help me kind of get the most out of that negative, and I just don't possess those yet. But I will share with you what I've kind of reached so far with the print. So this is the image that I've made so far, and it's the 8x8 image, and like I said, kind of happy but kind of not. So I've got some good contrast between the water and the edge of the lake there, but it's still not quite enough for me, and I'm introducing too much grey to the edge of the lake here when trying to kind of get this bit darker, and my dodging skills or whatever it might be, or something else I'm not quite getting. It's getting closer, and it did get better, but I'm still not quite where I want it to be. The overall print though, I am still quite happy, and there's still, like I said, there's something lacking, and I'm not quite sure yet how to achieve it. But I did decide to dodge in the top here slightly, which I thought was kind of alluded to the light that was kind of coming up from the sunrise, and it also acts as a bit of a sort of mirroring the kind of this corner as well by being a bit lighter. And there's some really nice texture in the ice as well, so I haven't lost that. So I've kept the detail in the shadow here, which I do like, but again, overall it's just not quite where I want it to be. So I mean, one thing I do quite enjoy about working in the darkroom with the negatives and stuff is that hopefully I'll learn some new skills and kind of adapt, and I'll be marking that negative for something to come back to, and I'll try it again in the darkroom. Sometimes coming back to a print and having a completely different approach to it results in a much better print, and sometimes you just need that distance. So one for definitely for me to come back to. I did think it was hopefully quite interesting for you guys watching the video though, to kind of understand that, you know, okay, we kind of go through this process and you have a good negative and you think you know what you want from the print, but it just doesn't always work out like that. And that's part of the creative process, is going through that that change and kind of just working out how things can be done, or, you know, trying to reach that vision that you have in your head but you can't quite get there, and it just takes hard work and effort, and kind of put things to bed and then come back to it a bit later. And this is definitely one that I think I need to come back to with a fresh pair of eyes, and like I said, maybe some new sort of tools in the toolbox, so to speak, that will let me get the most out of that negative. So hopefully you found that interesting and kind of a good kind of topic for how I might approach some of these videos going forward as well. So talking about the printing from the Holga negatives, that was actually in the last video. There was a competition to win a print, and all you had to do was leave a comment on the video, and I'm pleased to announce I've randomly picked a comment from the video that was left, and the winner is Tom Rayfield. So thank you for taking part, Tom, and congratulations. I'll be in touch to organise the shipping and get that sent out to you as soon as time allows, so expect a message from me. And that was it really. So this was the print that Tom's won. Just to remind everyone, it was the proof print from the Holga negatives, and this is shot at my local heath with the tree and the mist. So hopefully Tom will find a place for that in his home, which will be lovely. And that's it from me then. So I will see you all again in 2 weeks' time with the next video. And in the meantime, stay safe and take care.